Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling, I think, a really fundamental challenge in communication. It's that gap between an abstract truth, that fact you agree with in your head, and, well, actual life change.
Exactly. We're not just talking about informing people, we're talking about moving them.
It's the difference between a great lecture and a moment that, completely redirects your life.
It is. And we've been looking at sources that just nailed this problem, especially one citing the scholar Alec Modier, who laid out these two responsibilities for any communicator.
Okay, let's get into that. The first one is what everyone knows, right? We all put like 90% of our effort, responsibility to the truth.
Accurate exposition, mastering the data, getting the facts right.
Step one.
But it's only step one. The second responsibility, and this is the one that's so often missed, is the responsibility to the people. Modier says you have to shape and phrase that truth so it actually lands, so it gets the most receptive hearing possible.
And that's where all the training manuals just stop.
Right.
You get tons of help with the bullet points, the accuracy, the outline, but almost nothing on how to, as the source says, preach to the heart.
To genuinely move people, yeah. And to even begin to do that, you have to define what the heart even is, because the biblical concept is, well, it's pretty unique.
It's so different from the other big ideas out there. The sources gave a great contrast, starting with ancient Greek and Roman thought.
Right. For them, it was this huge battle. Your mind, your reason over here, and your passions, your emotions over there. And they were at war.
Mind over matter. Virtue was basically squelching your feelings because they were chaotic and, well, false.
The false you. And then you fast forward to our era, the last 50 years or so, the age of authenticity.
And it's completely flipped.
A total reversal.
Yeah.
Now your feelings are the truth. They're the real you, and your job is to express them, to fulfill them.
So we go from feelings are the enemy to feelings are the compass. But the view we need for this kind of communication, it's neither of those.
It throws them both out. The heart in this view isn't primarily about emotion or intellect. It's the engine room. It's the seat of what you fundamentally trust.
What you're committed to.
Yes. Think of Proverbs 3. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Or Matthew 6. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. It's about your core allegiance.
So that central trust is what then governs everything else. The mind, the will, the emotions, they all follow that lead.
It's the director of the orchestra, exactly. And the big conflict, the reason communication fails, is when the knowledge in the mind clashes with the real functional commitment of the heart.
Which brings us right to St. Augustine. I mean, the Confessions was just revolutionary for this very reason.
Absolutely. He wasn't ignoring his messy emotions, which the ancients would have done. But he also wasn't just, venting them like we're told to do today.
He was sifting through them, evaluating them, trying to redirect them toward God.
And that leads directly to Jonathan Edwards, who had this brilliant insight. He said, you can't really pit knowledge and feeling against each other.
Right, the classic example of someone saying, I know I should be more generous, but I don't feel like it.
And Edwards would come back and say, well, then you don't really know it yet. Not in a heart-level transformative sense.
Well,
if it's not changing you, it's just an opinion you agree with. It's not a reality that moves you.
That is a huge distinction for anyone trying to communicate. If you know something is true but don't live like it, the issue isn't your willpower. It's a deeper problem of trust in your heart.
And the source material had this perfect heartbreaking illustration of that. This 15-year-old girl struggling with depression. She had all the right answers. She told the pastor, I know Jesus loves me. I know I'm going to heaven. And then she says, but what good is all that when not a single boy at school will even look at you?
Wow. That just lays it bare. She had the opinion that God loved her, but the approval of boys was more real to her heart. That's what she trusted in for her value.
Her mind accepted one truth, her heart was committed to another. And this is why our goal can't just be to deliver data. It has to be making the abstract truth so vivid, it actually rearranges the commitments of the heart.
It has to become undeniable. Like the second story about the relative who refused to wear a seatbelt.
Yeah, knew all the stats, heard all the warnings, never changed. Until he saw a friend who'd gone through a windshield. And that friend had 200 stitches in his face. He didn't get any new information.
No.
But seeing those stitches that connected the abstract idea, crashes are dangerous, to a visceral sensory reality, the truth became real to his heart.
The knowledge went from a file in a cabinet to the operational center of his life.
And that is the whole goal. Edwards said preaching changes you through the impression it makes during the event. It's not just homework for later. It's supposed to penetrate the heart right then and there.
So the challenge for us is how do we make abstract truth 200 stitches real? And thankfully, the sources lay out a really practical framework, these 6 keys: communicating culturally, affectionately, imaginatively, practically, wondrously, and Christocentrically.
Let's start with the first one. Key 1, communicate culturally. This is huge. You have to address the stories people already believe in, the ones that make their eyes glaze over when you talk.
Mago. My eyes glaze over. I love that. It's that moment when people just check out because they think they've heard it all before.
And the biggest story today is the identity narrative. You know, for centuries, the hero was the person who sacrificed their desires for the group. Now the hero is the person who looks inside, finds their authentic self, and asserts it against the group.
And if you don't offer a better, more stable story for their identity, your message just won't connect.
And you have to address the truth narrative, too, this idea that only I can decide what's right for me. It's everywhere.
It's funny because it's such a self-contradictory statement. The person saying, you can't tell me how to live, is in that very moment telling you exactly how to live.
Exactly. And this cultural grid is what determines how we even evaluate our feelings. The source gave this brilliant comparison. An Anglo-Saxon warrior 1,000 years ago feels an impulse to kill someone who disrespects him. In his culture, that's a good feeling. It's honorable.
But a young man in Orlando today feels that same impulse.
He needs anger management or maybe prison.
Wow.
Same feeling. Totally different cultural evaluation. If you don't get that, you're talking past your audience. Instant mego.
Okay, so what about key 2? Communicate affectionately, from the heart. The source calls it non-deliberate transparency.
It means the audience has to feel that this truth has changed you, that you're not just a lecturer, but a trophy of grace, that you've got skin in the game.
So it's not a flat academic tone, but it's also not that forced constant excitement either.
Oh, that's the loud train problem. If you live by the tracks, you stop hearing the train. If a speaker is always at max passion, the audience just tunes it out. Your emotion has to vary. It has to fit the shape of the truth you're talking about.
So you might slow down, get quieter, when you reach a really important point instead of just getting louder.
Exactly. And you can only do that if you know your material cold. If you're fumbling for notes, you can't have emotional freedom. Preparation frees you to actually feel.
That's great. Okay, on to key 3. Communicate imaginatively, using word pictures. This is about making things sensory.
And Edwards was the master. He had this really heavy doctrine to explain. You can't save yourself through your own good works.
And he didn't just say that. He used that incredible spider web image.
Yes. He said, all your goodness would have no more influence to keep you out of hell than a spider's web would have to stop a falling rock.
And everyone knows what that feels like. A heavy rock, a flimsy web. It's instant. You feel the futility of it.
It bypasses your intellectual defenses entirely. And God does this himself, right?
Yeah.
In Genesis, with Cain, he doesn't just say, stop being angry.
No, he says, sin is crouching at your door. It desires to have you, but you must master it.
He turns sin into a predatory animal, a tiger waiting to pounce. It makes the abstract threat feel terrifyingly real and immediate.
And to do that well, the sources say you have to read everything. Fiction, history, poetry, not just your own field. You need a deep well of illustrations to pull from.
Then there's key 4. Communicate practically. This means application has to be super specific, not just go think about this.
This dialogical application.
Yeah.
It's like you're counseling the audience right there in the talk.
Yeah, the example was great. You ask the audience, do you struggle to talk to your neighbors about your faith? If they say yes, you suggest it's not just a failure of technique, it's a test. It reveals a pride problem.
You're more afraid of what your neighbor will think than you are confident in what God thinks.
Exactly. It's surgically specific. It connects a big abstract idea like pride to a concrete everyday behavior.
Okay, key 5. Communicate wondrously. This is about connecting the truth to our deepest human desires.
And the source brings in J.R.R. Tolkien and his whole analysis of fairy tales. Why do they resonate so deeply with us?
He had 4 reasons, right?
4 deep desires. Escape from time and death. Communion with, a bigger non-human world. The desire for perfect love. And finally, the triumph over evil.
Those are just story elements. They're existential longings.
That's the point. If the message of, say, the resurrection is true, then all those things we long for in stories will actually come true for us. The truth is better than the best fiction. That sense of wonder just lifts people up.
And that brings us to the last one, key 6. Communicate Christocentrically. This is what makes it more than just a good lecture.
The best description was from the host's wife in the source. She said some sermons are just really, really good Sunday school lessons until they get to Jesus.
Right. When it's about moral duty or doctrine, people are taking notes. It's all on the head.
But when the message shifts and centers on Christ, on who he is and what he's done, people put their pencils down. The focus moves from, what should I do, to, who is this? And they start to worship.
And that's when you know it's landed in the heart.
That's the moment.
So we have this intense framework, these 6 keys. But there's still this question of results. What makes a communication not just good, but great?
And the sources draw a really important line here. The difference between a bad message and a good one, that's mostly on you. Did you do the work? Did you master the material?
But the difference between a good one and a truly great history-making one, that's something else.
That's almost completely the Holy Spirit's sovereign work, the uncontrollable factor. And this creates this necessary tension. You have to work like crazy to prepare.
But then you have to let go of the results. You have to trust in that sovereignty.
So that if you don't see this huge visible response, it doesn't eat you alive. You did your part. The rest is up to God.
The source had that great historical comparison. Daniel Rowland always gave a technically flawless sermon, George Whitefield. Not always so perfect. But both were incredibly powerful.
God just sovereignly chooses when and where that great transformation happens. So for you, the learner, the takeaway is you need both. Absolute devotion to the truth and this intense intentionality about the heart.
Which brings us to a final provocative thought for you to think about. The sources kept mentioning how crucial the Q&A sessions were after a talk. Not just for questions, but for modeling a response to the audience's real hurt or anger.
Yeah, we so often treat the Q&A as just an add-on, an afterthought when we're running out of time.
Right, but think about it. If true transformation demands this much preparation, reading widely, knowing the culture, everything we've talked about, then maybe that immediate feedback is more important than we think. What if the Q&A session isn't the end of this message, but a vital piece of preparation for the next one?
Letting their real reactions, their confusion, their pushback, actually shape how you communicate next time.
Is it possible that knowing how your message actually lands is the most important piece of the puzzle? Something to think about.